Republican Jim Wheeler, the assemblyman from Nevada, says if his constituents wanted him to vote for slavery, well, by goodness, he's going to vote for slavery. Folks, it never ceases to amaze me how many prominent conservatives are just shocked, utterly shocked, that somehow progressives, liberals, Democrats, and black people think that conservative Republicans are racist. And then you see situations like this where this assemblyman out in Nevada says that, not really his cup of tea, not his first choice of legislation, but hey, if his constituents wanted slavery, he would vote for it. Toot sweet. Now, folks, we're constantly told there's this equivalency in American politics, and that for every single sort of outlier right-wing Republican, there's an equal outlier left-wing Democrat who says something equally absurd. Well, folks, I'm scouring the internet. I just don't see evidence of elected Democrats who are in public office, in legislatures, saying things like, well, if my constituents wanted it, I would certainly take over every single corporation in America, put it all under the arm of the government, and make this like 1975 Soviet Union. I've never seen that. If you've seen that, please send it to me. I've never seen a so-called left-wing Democrat in public office say, sure, let's be the French Revolution and let's just chop off the heads of the wealthy plutocrats. I haven't seen that. Folks, you've been told a big lie that somehow there's this equivalency in all aspects of public life. There isn't. There's one party and one party only that has been taken over by radical extremists, some of whom are nothing more than modern-day Klansmen. Also in the news, Governor John Kasich of Ohio. Interesting rhetoric coming out of this guy. I mean, this guy was one of Newt Gingrich's henchmen back in the House in the 90s, and someone always considered very conservative. Here's some of the rhetoric coming out of his mouth as quoted by the New York Times. He says, quote, I'm concerned about the fact that there seems to be a war on the poor. Talking about Washington, D.C. That if you're poor, somehow you're shiftless and lazy. Wonder where he would get that idea. Ted Cruz, Mitt Romney. It's an interesting twist to see that someone with national aspirations is willing to, in the Republican Party, is willing to attack what most people thought was kind of mainstream Republican dogma these days. It may be that Kasich is putting his finger in the wind and realizing average middle-class voters, average middle-class white suburban voters, in fact, in Ohio are not liking all this bashing of the poor because too many of them have a father, a mother, a son, a brother-in-law who's out of work and perhaps needs a helping hand. Elsewhere in the news, fascinating story today in Salon by the well-known thinker Michael Lind, sort of a former conservative, who now tells it like it is about the conservative movement. Talking about Obamacare and the fascinating things going on there, something I hadn't really thought about, but he points out in this article that all the things that are supposedly awful about Obamacare are the very same things conservatives want in every aspect of government. He says, quote, conservatives want to impose all federal social policy, the following: means testing, a major role for the states, subsidies to private providers instead of direct provision of health care or retirement benefits. He's talking about what essentially has become Obamacare that everyone's upset about. It's what conservatives asked for, and this is what they're trying to do for everything else, Social Security. So it is a bit rich and a bit much for conservatives to insist on the very changes in Obamacare that have now created all the problems. Again, mini history lesson, because the media does a horrible job of that. What Obama would have preferred, what every Democrat would have preferred, what every Democrat's been asking for 60 years, is a single-payer health care plan where the government pays for the health care of the citizens. The same way we have a single-payer plan for national defense. And we have a single-payer plan for highways and for air control and water control. And the same way cities have single-payer plans for police care protection. That's what Obama, that's what Democrats want. Republicans are the ones who came up with this whole idea of let's create something wildly complex that's got to involve all kinds of insurance companies and every state level of control, and creating this complicated mess. So if you have a problem with that, you have a problem with modern day conservatism. You do not have a problem with Obama, my friends. Folks, thanks for joining me today. Just trying a new format where I lump together multiple stories and do commentary so you can get it essentially in one video. Happy to get feedback and critique from you. If you like this, if you don't like this, and always looking for ideas on how to get more viewership, more engagement, more debate with you. And you know what I'd really like, frankly, some of you may have noticed, I've not been actively involved with comments as much lately. And I gotta tell you, it's frankly depressing when the comments are just dominated by conservative know-nothings. So I'm happy to have an intelligent conversation, but you know, when someone just posts something like Obama's a communist, it's not really worth my time or anyone else's. So please, post your comments. Let's have an honest debate here.